Hi everybody, thanks for joining me today. We have Cedar Island up for review. Now she's the first boat out of the 3 of our refit reviews this week. So let's go and take a look in. So she's a 110-foot Broward, launched in 1994. As I mentioned, all of the boats that we're reviewing this week are a little bit different to what I usually do. These are all boats that I think are prime candidates for doing a refit on to improve its value and improve the sort of experience that you're going to get out of the boat. And the boats that are priced right at this point in time for you to take it, invest the money in, and not lose all of that sort of capital that you've put into it in bringing her back to usable standards. Cedar Island's a little bit different. She is in fantastic condition right now, and a new buyer could actually move on to this boat and use it quite happily for the next 6 to 8 months before doing anything to it. So it's a great way for you to actually get to experience the boat and put some thought into exactly what you're going to do to the interior of the boat or to different areas of the boat to make it your own sort of perfect yacht. Usually when people do refits, it's because they want to put their own touch on things and make it a bit more of a sort of personal experience. So let's take a look at the specifications here. 110 feet, 20 feet beam, 6-foot draft, launched in 1994 by Broward. She's one of the sort of standard Broward boats, aluminium hull, aluminium superstructure, built here in South Florida. The engines that they have on board are the Detroit diesels. They have had work done on them constantly. They had a big rebuild done to them just a couple of years ago, so they have only got I think just under 700 hours on them since that major overhaul. The fuel and water storage fairly standard, just under 9,000 gallons of fuel and just over 2,000 gallons of water. They do have the water makers fitted on board. Cruising speeds, 18 knots. I know they do generally run this boat at slower speeds, just that's how the current owner likes to operate it, and it's very fuel efficient at that speed. It has maximum potential speed of 26 knots. So this is a full stateroom layout. It is the more popular layout out of the 2 options that Broward put into this sort of model boat, and the current asking price is $2,200,000, and that has just been reduced down to that price. So that's fairly recent reduction there. So moving on to the photographs. Now this is the main area that people would want to sort of modify and do work to, and this is really the reason why I put it into this week's reviews, is because there's not a huge amount of work that needs doing to this boat, and it's something that someone can gradually do throughout their ownership of the boat. So as I mentioned, it's really a turnkey boat as it is now. All of the equipment works on board. There isn't one piece of equipment that doesn't work. It's sort of sometimes on older boats, one piece of navigation equipment or electric or electronic equipment will break down and become inoperative at one point, and it's sort of pushed off to the side and forgotten about and just not really used. But that's not the case here. Everything works on board here. It's a fantastic condition. It's just the interior here is the main focus. So looking at these photographs, this is the main salon that you can see here, and it's very early, sort of stereotypical early 90s design, especially out of Broward. They have sort of the glitzy bar towards the front end of the salon there, and kind of a basic and sort of neutral looking interior. Certainly not offensive, and something that you could quite easily live with for a few months while you're deciding what you actually want to do to the boat, but definitely something that you probably want to update and refresh. These photographs on the left hand side there, that's all of the salon. It has this little table towards the aft door, coming in from the main deck aft. It's nice that they have such large windows running sort of front to back here on some of the older boats, because the glass wasn't quite up to the same quality that it is nowadays. They had to put in larger structural pieces, and you can see that in these sort of mullions. They're called, that are the frames of the window. So they had to be more heavy duty, they had to be load bearing, whereas now you see a lot of the windows running forward and aft without any of these sort of structural pieces, and that's because the glass is such better quality now. You can actually use it as a structural piece rather than just a filler sort of in between the structural pieces. So with this being an older boat, it is nice to see that you do have the larger windows here, so lots of natural light coming in. The top photograph on the right hand side, that's of the bar area that's in the salon. You see the sort of old school bar stools there, very Donnie Brasco, sort of a Las Vegas looking bar section there. The outside areas on this boat are very, very nice, very open, large areas, which aren't all that common on older boats. Quite often they would put a very small sort of aft deck and a small sort of flybridge, but not on here. It's nice, very open. The aft deck has this table here that you can see with the chairs around it. Also has a couple of seating areas back there, and then it steps down to another huge swim platform that's at the back, which is perfect water sports and sort of fishing staging area. The top photograph there on the left, that's what I was mentioning about the electronic equipment. See, all of that's been updated and brought to today's standards, has all the usual sort of equipment that you would expect to see on a younger boat. So all that's working. There's nothing there that has been sort of brushed under the rug and forgotten about. And these, of course, are the areas that will end up costing you a lot of money during a refit, because there's so much testing and fault finding that needs to be done in order to trace all the wires. A lot of time all the paperwork is missing for it, so it's nice that that's all up and running and an area that you don't need to worry about. This does have a large country kitchen in it, and the windows continue from the main salon through into this country kitchen. They're not around the forward area, but they are sort of port and starboard. And this area looks absolutely fine. I know they've had some different pieces of equipment put here over the years. It's all working in great order. I know they had the owners on just a couple of weeks ago, and all of this was up and running and being used. So maybe there's some areas that could do with a bit of refreshing as far as interior design goes, but certainly no major work that needs doing here. And that's pretty indicative of the entire boat. There's nothing major that needs to be done here. She does need paint. The paint is from the 2006 paint job that she had done, so that's something that will need to be looked at, and I have price quotes for that. The other thing that you would probably want to do at the same time as you're going to the expense of repainting is you would reseal the windows in their seats. So you take out all of that caulking and you'd reseam it after the paint job is done. What that also allows you to do is get a much cleaner paint job, so you don't see any cut lines or any tape lines. They would actually scrape out the caulking, paint into the sort of caulking area, and then caulk over that, so you don't have any kind of seals or tape lines or any overspray or anything there. It's really the proper way to do a paint job. So top right hand there is still the country kitchen. Nice little seating area. There's a nice island in here as well. You can just see that on the bottom left-hand photograph. Also have a new TV fitted there. And then the bottom photograph on the right-hand side, this is where things start to look a little dated as far as style goes. This is the master cabin. I think those bedspreads are original to the boat. I know at certain points in time some of the tiling in the bathroom has been replaced here. The carpets have been replaced. They've had all of the ducting cleaned out and treated for any kind of potential mold growth. The chillers have been replaced. Air conditioning sort of fan coils and compressors have been worked on over the time as well. That's another sort of hidden area that people don't think about when they're looking at the boat for a refit, is all of these ducts that are running through the boat that have been constantly running throughout the entire life of the boat. Whether there's moisture there or not, you still build up mold, and if that mold hasn't been addressed, then that's what starts to attract the moisture. It starts to spread to other areas, other bits and pieces of cabinetry. So knowing that has been done and attention sort of looked in that direction is very reassuring, and it gives you a bit of an idea as to what else they've done on the boat. Usually that's sort of the last thing that people would want to spend the money on, because it's an area that you don't see sort of direct results from. It's not like you're putting new carpet in the main salon. You can see the benefits from it straight away. So knowing that they've done that is very reassuring. Very old bedspreads, unfortunately, make it look less desirable to a lot of people. You see that again here with all the bedspreads. They have had some AV work done from time to time. I see in the twin cabins here and in that double, they've still got the old tube style TVs. That's something that you'd want to take out and replace. In the main salon, I know they have still sort of CD changers and things. They don't have the kaleidoscope system, which a lot of boats have now. But that's all, something that is wrapped up in the price. Is going for a great price, and investing that money back in is certainly going to increase her value. So nice layout with the cabins. The cabins are actually divided by the engine room. So you have two cabins up forwards and two cabins back aft. On the top, on the left hand side, that's the master cabin. You have the double as the guest, and then you have the two twins, which are the other guest cabins. The bathrooms here are fairly standard of what you would expect to see out of Broward for this sort of time period. They did use a lot of tiling on the floors. As I mentioned, that has been replaced over the time. They used a lot of glass, a lot of gold sort of fittings and fixtures. So that's all things that can be replaced during the refit. There's a nice shot at the back there of the sort of back cockpit and swim platform as well. It's a nice huge open area. They do have some teak issues on here, so certain areas of the teak will need to be replaced, and on some of the steps going up to the flybridge, and also a couple of areas on this swim platform will need to be addressed, but nothing major. There's no sort of blistering underneath the teak decks, which is a sign that there's blistering in the filler underneath the actual decks, which is when it starts to get expensive. This is just when you lay teak, you have almost like a chipboard or a fiber board that they put the teak on, and when the teak gets very thin, you start to see that board underneath. So that's what's happening here. Some nice shots of the exterior area forwards there on that top left-hand photograph. That's where the country kitchen is, so you can see the windows are on the port and starboard side, but there are no windows up on the front-facing side of that. Up onto the flybridge at the bottom right, They do have a nice bimini top up here. The bimini top looks really good. There are no sort of corrosion issues. There are no staining or mold issues on that bimini top either. The flybridge, they got real nice sort of seating areas and sun lounge areas here. Forwards is that sort of helm station, and then back aft they have the storage for the tenders and the toys. It's nice that this crane is off to one side as well. It means that once those toys are off and sort of being used and in the water, that crane is now out of the way. Some boats, so larger manufacturers, actually will put the crane smack bang in the middle of the flybridge. Then, of course, once the tender and toys are in the water and being used, you're still stuck with the crane there. And can't really utilize that area. Whereas here, once the chocks and everything are cleared off, then you actually have a big area, open area that you can use. We can see there on the GA or on the layout how the cabins are divided by the engine room. You can see that on the bottom sort of drawing there. Moving up from there, you can see back aft we have this big sort of cockpit and swim platform area, and you can see that quite well on the photograph on the top there on the right hand side. And then you can see the sort of areas that you got for the bar and the salon, and moving forwards into the country kitchen. So you can imagine if you were to take that bar out, that's actually quite a nice area for a dining room table there, and that's what a lot of potential buyers have been talking about with this boat. So moving on to the write-up, as always, I do have this brochure that I've been flicking through here, and also a lot of sort of pricing analysis and details of paint quotes and different bits and pieces in the yacht pack that I have. So just click on the yacht pack button that's on the right hand side here, and click on that, leave me your name and email address and the name of the boat, and I'll send it off to you. I've got it ready to go. Actually, I've got one for every boat that's on the market. So if there are any other boats that you're interested in, then leave me the names, and I'll get that off to you right away. So this you can either pause on the video or in that yacht pack you can read through this. It details some of the work that's been done to the guest staterooms. Some carpets have been replaced, so the towels in the bathrooms that I mentioned, washer dryers that have been replaced over time. It does go through quite well towards the end of this, the work that was done to the mechanical equipment, and really that's the area that you want to be concentrating on when you're picking a boat for refit, is the major sort of hidden stuff that's been worked on, not necessarily the interior sort of fit and finish. It's the stuff that's going to cost you the most money that you want to be sure has been well maintained. So in here it mentions some bits and pieces about sort of glass cooker tops and refrigerators and freezers and microwave oven, convection ovens that are all new pieces of equipment, and that's great. But really for me the important stuff is sort of the electronics and the mechanical equipment. Actually, you can see some of the chart plotters and the GPSs and bits and pieces of software all new here. Stabilizer controls are all new in sort of 2010 to 2012. Hydraulic bow thrusters have been serviced, flat screen TVs and bits and pieces of display equipment for the helm and bridge navigation equipment. They're all new, as we saw earlier on, those flat screen monitors. The mechanical equipment, the nautical structures crane was rebuilt. The main engines were completely rebuilt in 2003, and they had a major rebuild in 2011 as well. And in fact, there's only been just under 700 hours on the engine since they were completely rebuilt, and the generators were rebuilt as well. So the ZF, the transmissions, the gearboxes, they were rebuilt in 2011. The membranes had work done to them in 2010. The chillers and the air handlers had work done on them in this period as well. At the same time, the ducting was done. The generators, they had their work done, and they were actually rebuilt in 2009. The air compressors were replaced in 2008. The AC ducting, that was all done in 2010 and 2011. There's really a lot of work that was done to the boat. It has beautiful teak cabin rails actually that run all the way around the boat. They were completely stripped back to bare wood and had 15 or 20 coats of varnish put on them by the crew and the captain over the past few months. So she looks beautiful, does need paint, but looks in great condition. So that's enough for Cedar Island. A great option. Click on that Yacht Pack button, get all the details about this boat. She's going to be between here, Fort Lauderdale, and up towards sort of Connecticut and Newport. So she's available for showings at any point. And I did do one of our weekly yacht tours on her while she was still down there, and she shows very, very well. They're very impressed with the captain and the amount of work that he's put into this boat. And it's really been an open checkbook sort of life that the boat has had with this owner, and had all of the major work done, as you can see from the upgrades and the refit items that I just went through. He is an older owner, older gentleman, so the interior sort of styling isn't really high up on his priority list, which is why I think she's such a great option for someone to come in, get her at a great price, put a little bit of money into the interior and freshen her up and end up with a fantastic boat. So thanks for joining. I do these reviews every week, as you know by now. If you want me to send you a quick notification of when the latest reviews are up and some great opportunities like Cedar Island come up on the market, then go to the Be the First to Know just down below. Leave me a name and email address, and I'll shoot you those brief emails when I put these reviews up. So thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time.